Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a cracking day so far. Today we are reacting to inside the $3.2 billion Air Force One. Now, as you all probably know, Air Force One is the President of the United States of America's whip. He gets to cruise around in there. I've seen a couple photos and that, but this video popped up and I thought, actually, I'm quite interested to see what sort of, it's got to be armored, surely. It's got to have some sort of stuff that a normal jet doesn't have, if you know what I mean. So I'm quite keen to see what it's all about. Excuse me, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied here. If you guys haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're feeling extra frisky, you may as well hit the like button as well. I do have a Buy Me a Coffee page, link down in the description if anyone wants to buy a coffee to help support the channel. But please don't feel any obligation to do so. I also have a Patreon down in the description if anyone wants to sign up there. That'll be all videos that get blocked on YouTube. There'll be exclusive videos that are only for there that aren't too YouTube friendly. And yeah, but again, please don't feel any need to. I will be uploading there daily. I was supposed to have a video up there yesterday. I have no idea why the schedule post didn't go out, so I'm going to make that one live now as well. Big shout out to those of you who have already signed up. Thank you so much, you freaking legends. And yeah, let's crack on with the video inside the $3.2 billion Air Force One.
By any measure, the President of the United States' official state aircraft is an impressive piece of kit. Not only is Air Force One tricked out with all the latest defensive gizmos, it also performs as a flying embassy, pampering eminent guests and projecting American confidence and authority around the world. But what actually goes down inside that world-famous fuselage? Today, we're taking to the skies and finding out what makes Air Force One special. Before we go any further, it's important to understand something very basic. Air Force One isn't technically an aircraft at all. Air Force One is an air traffic control call sign, denoting any aircraft that happens to have a sitting president on board at the time. Usually this is the familiar blue and white jet we've all seen on TV 100 times. It's crucial to stress, however, that when that same plane jets off later that day without the president, it's no longer Air Force One. This quirk of nomenclature was...
I had no idea about that. Every day's a school day.
Jets off later that day without the president, it's no longer Air Force One. This quirk of nomenclature was brought home painfully to Richard Nixon after his resignation in 1974. At the exact same moment his successor, Gerald Ford, was being sworn into office, Nixon's mid-air flight to California was unceremoniously downgraded from Air Force One to plain old SAM 2700. Dwight Eisenhower was the first president to enjoy the use of the iconic call sign. Air Force One was first coined after a hairy moment in 1953 when air traffic controllers couldn't distinguish between the president's Lockheed Constellation and a nearby commercial plane that happened to be using an identical flight number. But it was President John F. Kennedy who did most to craft our modern notion of what Air Force One actually is. JFK's savvy instinct for political theater inspired him to propose a kind of flying White House. A specifically modified Boeing 707 was promptly commissioned. Kennedy's glamorous wife Jackie is most often credited with overseeing the classic blue and white livery and chic interiors we...
Looks like she's been into some London pubs there, bottling everything.
Wife Jackie is most often credited with overseeing the classic blue and white livery and chic interiors we all know and love. What's less well known is that the French-born designer Raymond Louis, who also designed the classic Coke bottle and cigarette boxes for Lucky Strike, was heavily involved too. Louis based the grandiose all-caps United States of America logo on the fuselage upon the Caslon typeface, which he had recently seen used to great effect on an original copy of the US Declaration of Independence. President Kennedy loved Air Force One, referring to it as his baby, but tragedy was soon to strike. In November 1963, Air Force One ferried Kennedy to its final engagement, a motorcade through the city of Dallas, during which he...
This video popped up recently and I had no idea that it was going to be quite as graphic as it was. So yeah, I thought it was going to just show from a distance and they actually slowed down bits. It's pretty... I'd hate for one of my family members to... That's there forever, you know what I mean?
He was brutally assassinated. In the immediate aftermath, Kennedy's Boeing 707 bore the painful duty of carrying the president's body home. On that same flight, Kennedy's successor, Lyndon Johnson, was sworn into office, documented in this haunting photograph, hand on Bible, standing next to a grieving Jackie Kennedy.
Oh my God.
Air Force One's role in such historic moments, of course, make it very special indeed. But it isn't all heavyweight drama. Some presidents have even managed to inject some fun into the Air Force One story. Take Gerald Ford, for instance. Every inch a man of the people, Ford was a huge fan of Coors beer. In those days, Coors was only available in a handful of states out west, so whenever Ford flew that way on presidential business, he'd insist staff stock up Air Force One with crates of his beloved Coors, so he'd have a stash to enjoy back home at the White House. Somewhat more innocently, in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan kept jars of jelly beans on board Air Force One. Reagan can also be seen in photographs practicing his golf game across a miniature in-flight putting green. Looking ahead to today, the Air Force One we know and love is a jumbo jet, right? Wrong. It's actually two identical jumbo jets. Twin Boeing 747-200Bs bearing tail numbers 28000 and...
Do they really need to be that big? Like, why do you need like a commercial sized plane? How many people are on there with them? I don't know. I'm not...
900 respectively share the job, ensuring there's always a backup in case of emergency. And although these mighty aircraft might look superficially like the one that you used to go on vacation, they're actually quite different animals underneath. For one, they're almost entirely self-sufficient. Air Force One 747s have their own fold-out staircases and even their own baggage loading machinery, keeping interaction with potentially suspicious ground crews to a minimum. They can also refuel in mid-air and so technically remain airborne indefinitely if a crisis crops up. Air Force One's 26-strong regular crew are vetted to the highest military standards,
26.
but once established on the job, enjoy a rare intimacy and familiarity with the Commander-in-Chief. As such, President's final flights are famously emotional affairs. The food available on board is somewhat better than your average humdrum airline fare. 2 kitchens, each boasting their own $12 million refrigerator, are capable of producing gourmet standard...
I was going to say, you bet this like hostesses or hosts don't come up and chicken or fish.
Grub for up to 100 people at a time. Enough food for 2,000 meals is kept on the plane, always, just in case, with supplies sourced by crew members wearing disguise at randomly selected grocery stores to prevent potential poisoning or other similar skullduggery. If the worst should happen and the president gets sick, Air Force One is kitted out with an advanced onboard medical facility, complete with fold-out operating table, fully stocked pharmacy, and a doctor on call 24/7. Vital stocks of blood matching the Commander-in-Chief's blood type are also stashed aboard. Naturally, the White House of the Skies has some decent communications gear on board. No begging the stewardess for Wi-Fi access here. There's reputed to be 85 separate secure phone lines, supplemented by a number of two-way radios and even a fax machine. Well, you never know. As many as 19 television sets, reportedly costing several thousands of dollars apiece, and ultra-fast internet keep the president and his staff in constant contact with the ground. Some 238 miles of internal wiring, about twice as much as a regular 747, keep the lights on no matter what. As you might expect, Air Force One is also kitted out with the latest defensive technology. Its heavy shielding armor can help it withstand much of the fallout from a nuclear detonation, while gizmos embedded around the fuselage help scramble infrared missile guidance systems and hostile radar. Not to mention the fact Air Force One routinely ferries the infamous nuclear football around. This briefcase holds the necessary codes for launching an intercontinental atomic strike. How's that for carry-on weaponry? All this tech comes at a mind-blowing cost. According to an Obama-era Freedom of Information request, Air Force One costs the American taxpayer some $206,337 for every hour it's up in the air.
Every
hour? The fuel alone sets Uncle Sam back $80,000 an hour. But the symbolism and prestige of Air Force One is surely worth every penny. Just look at how much mileage movie makers get out of this iconic airborne American institution. It really is quite special. And of course, many, if not most, of the advanced avionics and defense systems aboard Air Force One are classified. But still, it's fun to speculate. Put it this way, in at least 4 of the many movies set on Air Force One, the president uses a private one-seater escape pod. To be clear, the real-life Secret Service flatly denies such an escape pod exists. But then they would say that, wouldn't they?
Well, I was expecting a lot more. I suppose they can't exactly take you on a tour of the freaking jet, could they? Oh, this is where this goes, this is where that goes. But it's insane, the cost involved in running that thing. That is immense. But I suppose it's necessary. Every president of the United States, whoever it is probably going to have a massive target on his back. Not by me, YouTube, not by me, please. Don't freaking take that as a threat. I don't want someone kicking down my door or dropping something on the house. But I'm just saying, they've got to be prepared for everything, and I suppose they are. That's insane that it can refuel in the air and just keep going. They've got enough for what, 2,000 meals or something? That's ridiculous. That's insane. That is insane. I'd love to be able to go on that thing and just see what sort of luxury it is in there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Or maybe when I come to the States, I'll take you on my drive on my flight in economy. economy plus if I'm feeling fancy. Have a great day. Peace.